Riddle me this, Batman. If this book was published in 1916 and in it contains an exact measurement of something that was only scientifically discovered in 1950, how is that possible? That's our story so far. And I want to compose a song on the subject. One. The Van Allen bells are heaven. The Van Allen bells are heaven. The Van Allen bells, the Van Allen bells, the Van Allen bells are heaven. One more time. The Van Allen bells are heaven. The Van Allen bells are heaven. The Van Allen bells, the Van Allen bells, the Van Allen bells are heaven. All right, and now to start with, I'm going to start with these two books together. So we have J. Hewitt Mackenzie and Rebecca Rooter Springer. And the next two books together, if you want to jump ahead, are going to be Francesco's Wanderer in the Spirit Lands, coupled with Monsignor Hugh Benson, Life in the World Unseen. So we're going to look at those two books together, Life in the World Unseen. There's a couple of them. We're going to look at all of them, and we're going to look at Francesco only has one book. But for now, we're going to look at these two books just for today. And in this book, she describes this incredibly beautiful heaven where she swims in the sunshine every day. And this guy presents this large map of all the heavens. Okay, this all the way from the earth to the seventh heaven. This is J. Hewitt Mackenzie's map. And so then I got wondering, where does her heaven, her experience, fit within this map? And it sounds like Summerland, basically. So in the 7 layers that he describes, I concluded that she's in the lower part of the 3rd layer. Because it's the 3rd layer because the sunshine is so bright and it's so idyllic. And it's just, but it's the lower part of the 3rd level because it is clearly, specifically Protestant. So she is in a clearly, specifically Protestant heaven with all this beautiful sunlight and water. And so those two facts, because of those two facts, I conclude that in his map, she is in the lowest level of the 3rd sphere, which is called Summerland. Which means if you read this account, it only gets better from here. And that's the amazing thing. It only gets better from here. So from here, you would live years and years in a life like this, where anyway, read the book if you want to, and then you would move on to something even better. So, and J. Hewitt Mackenzie, in addition to making this map and talking about the different layers, he talks about specifically the dimensions. And he specifically has miles. It's written in miles. And according to him, there's the first heaven, and then there's the second heaven. The first heaven is it's either I think it's the 1, 2, 3, or it might be 1, 2. No, sorry, it's the first two. I should know this, right? Right? The first two layers are the first heaven, and then 3 through 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those 5 are the second layer. And so that's what he describes in this book, and he describes them in miles. Later, in the 1950s, the Van Allen belts were discovered, which are energy bands, invisible energy bands around Earth. You can read about these. Look up the Van Allen belts. The Van Allen belts are also said to be in two sections, the inner section and the outer section, and their ratio is about 2 to 5, right? So he was saying that there's 7 layers. The first 2 are the first heaven, the next 5 are the second heaven, and we're seeing in actual descriptions of the actual Van Allen belts that you have an inner layer and outer layer that match in miles. That's what I'm saying. And so the Van Allen belts are heaven. And within that heaven, if you look in this book, are worlds like this. Each individual person has a world like this to go to. Everybody on Earth. So one more time. The Van Allen belts are heaven. The Van Allen belts are heaven. The Van Allen belts, the Van Allen belts, the Van Allen belts are heaven. The Van Allen belts are heaven. The Van Allen belts are heaven. The Van Allen belts, the Van Allen belts, the Van Allen belts are heaven. Thank you very much.